Hey, what's up everyone? BNGF Plus here. In today's video, I wanted to do a quick overview of the 0.23 update that was released at the end of June. And I've had a chance to really play around with it, including making a few videos now using the new update. This isn't something that I normally do because the release notes on BeamNG.com usually capture in pretty high detail of what to expect with the update, including images and videos. I also know that other YouTubers tend to do overviews of the updates, which are quite detailed as well. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because I've noticed that there were a few things that weren't mentioned in the release notes or were just skimmed over briefly that I've been noticing while playing the game and wanted to share with you. The first thing I wanted to point out, as it relates to the physically based rendering that was implemented, is the fact that now when you go into settings and go into your graphics settings, if you scroll down, underneath lighting quality, there's now an ultra setting. The interesting thing is this is the only setting that goes up to ultra. All of the other settings only go up to high. This was mentioned briefly in the release notes, however I did notice that by default I was still on high lighting quality and had to come in here and switch it to ultra. This option of course should only be enabled if you have a PC powerful enough to support it, but if you do enable it, you'll get access to the new direct specular lighting, which makes the paint jobs on the cars look really amazing. Speaking of a vehicle's paint job, if we open up the vehicle customization menu and go to color, previously we had a color palette, some default colors, and a few options such as brightness to change. Now there's a new configurations menu which has a lot more options to choose from, things like brightness, chrominess, roughness, clear coat, etc. Now if we turn our attention to the environment, in addition to PBR materials and assets being added, ambient diffuse lighting has been implemented. This means that in shaded areas, whether it's shaded from the terrain or from objects on the map, it's going to be a lot more highly detailed. Also check out how good the tires look with the new PBR materials and lighting upgrades. Let's take a look at the city at nighttime and see what graphical improvements have been made there. Now I am using a mod, the West Coast USA with Lights mod, which I've linked to in the description below, but this will still give you a sense of how things look in the environment when a vehicle is passing through with its lights on. If we take a look at some of the surroundings as the police vehicle passes by, you can see how the shadows are moving very realistically and in real time as the vehicle passes. I don't remember this level of detail in previous versions of the game. This may have been an addition with the new lighting effects and ultra mode, but it's definitely a welcome addition, especially when you're recording or playing at nighttime. Switching on the car's high beams for a second, you can see how well things get lit up, including the shadows they cast. Turning on the police lights using the Realistic Police Lights mod, which I've linked to in the description below, you can again see how well the surroundings light up. Let's now take a look at some of the gameplay changes that have been made. Particularly, I wanted to jump into the Script AI Manager. As those of you who watch this channel know, I'm a big user of the Script AI Manager, which allows me to record paths for multiple vehicles and play them back simultaneously. Let's take a look at what's changed with Script AI since the update. So as a reminder, we can press F11 to open the world editor, and you can find Script AI Manager under Window, Gameplay, Script AI Manager. I'm just quickly recording a path like I normally would, as I want to show you one thing that's been fixed with the playback. You may remember that with certain vehicles, when you played back its path, it actually started elevated a little bit in the air before dropping down onto the ground and continuing the path. This was always a bit of an annoyance, especially if you were looking at recording a video or creating a realistic scene. Let me now show you what it looks like with the 0.23 update. As you can see, the ETK K-Series, which was always a vehicle that dropped when being played back, now starts on a perfectly level surface, so it looks a lot more realistic. You'll now notice on the progress bar there's two lines. The line on the top represents the overall playback's progress and how far along the playback is, whereas the line on the bottom represents the actual vehicle position and how far along the vehicle is along the playback. This might make a little bit more sense when we look at the next new feature. Underneath the More menu, there's now two additional options, the Start Offset and the Start Delay. For the Start Offset, this is the number of seconds that it's going to try to attempt to trim from the start of your playback. So if this is set to 1, which indicates 1 second, it's going to attempt to start your playback 1 second faster. This doesn't always work depending on how you start off your playback. If you're starting off your playback driving at full speed, it's likely that this won't have any effect because you're already going as fast as you can. On the other hand, start delay will delay the start of your playback by the number of seconds you've entered into this field. So if you've entered a start delay of say 3 seconds, when you run the playback, it's going to delay for 3 seconds before it starts playing your script back. So coming back to the progress bar and how the start offset and start delay plays into this, let's say I set a start delay of 3 seconds. After pressing play, you can see a red line progressing along the top, representing the start delay of 3 seconds. Once the 3 seconds have passed, the line turns green and continues to progress, while at the same time the white line representing the vehicle's position begins to progress as well. We can now adjust these values to fine-tune when a vehicle starts and stops. So in theory, when we're playing things back, if things are a little bit off, rather than pausing and playing and trying to time the start of the playback, we can simply come into the start delay and start offset and make those minor adjustments. Speaking of AI, I won't get into too much detail here, but we also saw a preview of what non-scripted AI will look like with traffic lights. This is currently available in the East Coast map, and they've promised that it's going to be coming to other maps in the near future. And the last thing I'll leave you with was an announcement that came out at the same time as the update that didn't seem to receive a whole lot of fanfare, and that's the introduction of the experimental Vulkan API. To quote from the blog post, Vulkan is a low overhead API that allows them to balance CPU and GPU usage, specifically on multi-core CPUs. With the new API, BeamNG should perform much better on big and demanding levels and with large amount of vehicles. So this is something that'll have to be played around with a bit, and quite frankly, I haven't had much time to dive into this, but I am planning on doing an upcoming video using my own PC and showing a comparison between the DirectX 11, which is the current version, as well as Vulkan API, which is the new rendering engine. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more to speak to about that. So that's it for this video. Hopefully this gave you a bit of an overview of the update and what to expect, including some additional features that weren't necessarily broadcast out there as part of the release notes. So hopefully it helps you out. And if you like this style of video, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have any feedback or ideas for future videos, let me know as well. Thanks again for watching.